It's Friday, October the 15th. About halfway through with October, aren't we? I don't have a lot today that I'm going to talk about. If you didn't have a chance to look at the Facebook blog last Friday, uh, that Dr. Jane Kelly did, take a minute to take a look at that. Dr. Kelly brought up some points that I think we haven't heard enough of. Things like she was saying. You know, there has been a lot of, um, I don't know if I want to call them myths, but a lot of unfactual information around the vaccination and fertility, and in especially in men, and as it relates to their, for lack of a better word, manly functions. So she brought up a really good point, and she had some fairly recent data to support it. And she said she reminded us all that there was absolutely no evidence that the vaccine impacts fertility, but just so that people can have some perspective, COVID does. COVID has a pretty bad impact. You know how mumps, and how you've always heard if you're a man, don't get mumps, you'll make you sterile. You know why? Well, I'm going to get a little bit graphic with this, but the reason why is because it often results, and I'm not going to be real clinical about it, but um, testicular swelling. And that may be because of different things, but mumps has a very adverse impact on men. And mumps is a virus also. So she said that there was beginning to be some concern about COVID and the impact that COVID is having on men and their fertility. Likewise, the same situation we're learning is applicable to women who are pregnant and women who want to get pregnant. Um, there is absolutely no evidence that the vaccine has any adverse impact on this, but there is a lot of really concerning evidence that's coming up that pregnant women who catch COVID have some really adverse outcomes, including losing the baby, and there's even been some maternal deaths around that. So I think Dr. Kelly brought up a lot of things. We sometimes spend too much time, I don't know, talking about or thinking about or listening to stories about the vaccine and its side effects or what it might do. When in reality, the after effects, the things that will happen long term or maybe immediately from COVID are really beginning to mount up on this. I was on a call the other day with some folks from MUSC, some of the big hospitals, MUSC and Prisma, and they were saying that they were getting very alarmed about patients who had early diagnosis of COVID and were now having serious problems, ongoing problems. Some of them hadn't even been able to get off of the high level of oxygen. A lot of them were having gastrointestinal problems that they didn't even have in the beginning. So we need to become much more knowledgeable and informed about what COVID is doing to our bodies. It's not just a bad cold, not by any means. It's not just a bad flu. There are consequences that are now beginning to mount with growing concern about what it really has meant. So I just want to put that in front of you. Um, more things for people to think about as we progress through this. Yeah, right now the numbers are down. Things look better than they have been. But I'll be very honest with you, Department of Health and a lot of folks, CDC and a lot of health entities are still very concerned about the holidays coming up. You know, they're hoping that it'll be better this year than it was last year because hopefully more people will have been vaccinated. And of course, more people will have had COVID. So, one way or another, we might have more antibodies. And speaking of antibodies, you know, it has been amazing to us how many people that didn't want the vaccine and were absolutely opposed to the vaccine, the minute they get sick, they come in for their monoclonal antibody infusion. Well, you know what, people? A monoclonal antibody infusion is just like a passive vaccination. As you think about that, it's just like getting a passive vaccination. And actually, there's been a little bit less research on that than there has been on the actual vaccination. You know, the vaccination helps your body make antibodies, whereas the monoclonal antibody infusion is infusing these antibodies that are already made into you. It's kind of like a passive vaccination. Just, I just wanted to kind of lay that perspective in front of you because I don't think many people think about it that way. Okay, two big news items. Um, as you know, Halloween is a coming. October the 29th on Friday. The Halloween crew will be making its rounds across Care South and into the offices. We're not going to ask offices to do a total decoration. Just do your lobby, and there will be judging, costumes, and sights. So it'll be another fun day. Also, another date to put on your calendar. Here it comes, January 21st, 2022. That's a Friday. We are going to have a staff meeting where we all get together at SMIT, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. Creek rose a right good bit last year, but we're going to be optimistic, and we're going to really, really pray that COVID doesn't have as big a surge as it did last January, and we're going to get together. We really want to get together. We haven't gotten together in forever. You know, it's been 2 years. 2020, we didn't have a staff meeting. Of course, 2021 is about over with. We did have a town hall, but, you know, that wasn't quite the same. So mark it on your calendars, January 21st, 2022. We're going to try to make a staff meeting actually happen at Florence Darlington Tech, the SIMT building. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. Last thing, boosters. Many of y'all got Moderna when you were vaccinated, especially if you received the vaccination from us, because in the beginning, Moderna was all we had. We got good news yesterday. FDA approved Moderna as a booster. Now, the next step is that it has to go through CDC approval, which there will be a committee that meets next week. So I think we'll be hearing pretty quick around the ability to provide Moderna boosters. These boosters are turning out to be quite effective. Those who got the third shot, that was for the immunocompromised, and or the booster for Pfizer, those tests are showing that it really pumped up the antibodies in those folks that received those doses. So that is really, really good news. So we'll stay tuned, see what else is going to happen. I'm sitting outside now. I don't get outside a lot to get fresh air, and I've really missed it. So I thought, well, I'm going to take my laptop, turn my fan on because it's hot. I think this is the last gasp of fall before fall. I certainly hope so. The weather forecast is for a nice, crisp fall Sunday. So, y'all enjoy, but be safe. There's still a coronavirus out here. Y'all take care. Bye bye.